Everyone thinks Anago, and it's Anago.
Yeah, I was gonna say Anago,
Yeah.
but it's Anago, which is good because we're live. Hey, welcome America. You know what this is? It's Get to Know the CEO, and it's hosted by America's sweetheart Eric Ryan. You're never gonna believe this. I am America's sweetheart, Eric Ryan. The point of the show, or the hope of the show, is to humanize corporate America through the magic and power of stupid questions. Today's guest is the CEO and president at Anago. Did I nail it?
Got it.
Yeah, Adam Povlitz. Welcome. Thanks for being here.
Good to be here, man. Good to see you. Good to meet you.
Oh, it's going to be exciting. So the whole thing here is we're going to bare your soul to the American public by answering the 5 questions of doom. I don't want to talk about business. Everybody talks about business. If you want to talk about business, there's 8,000 other shows on LinkedIn where you can hear about, business stuff. What I want to talk about is music, movies, and food. You ready?
Let's go.
All right, I will say this about your musical choices. All 3 are making their debuts on this list. I've done this show a lot. So yeah, most people go Beatles, Prince, Zeppelin. That seems to be a reoccurring theme. Sometimes an Elton John or a Billy Joel. Not you. Let's talk about the first one. Making their debut on someone's favorite list, Hootie and the Blowfish. Tell me why you love Hootie and also the Blowfish.
So first, all these questions when you have to pick a top 3. I mean, it was brutal. You go like, do I go classics like the Beatles or something like that? And everybody, of course, they're on the list, but like, do I listen to them regularly? No, I don't. So now Hootie, I literally was just at a concert for them. Probably wasn't it? I think not last Saturday, but the Saturday before. And I like patently refuse to go if he's Darius Rucker. I don't want to see Darius Rucker. I want to see Hootie, specifically Hootie. And I don't know what happened. I think it was in like the early 2000s. I got turned on to them. This was like past their prime. All of a sudden, like I think a buddy left. Showing my age here, my buddy left a CD. Like the CD books we all used to carry in the car.
Yeah, sure do.
He left a CD book in my car. And I happened to listen to this, and I was like, oh man, these are great. And stuff like Let Her Cry, I know every word, every nuance, every breath. And I was a little annoyed that when Hootie did it live, he like went off the album and kind of improvised a little bit. I'm like, no, like you
just want the classic version of Let Her Cry.
The classic version. There's only there's only like 5 songs they do that everybody knows, but like they're just, to me, they're amazing.
I'm glad you brought this up because, okay, so when I do this show, I do a lot of research. I do a little bit of research. There's this channel on YouTube called Rock and Roll Stories. Coincidentally, last night they put out the Hootie and the Blowfish one. It was only 11 hours old. So this was perfect timing. This is fucking nuts about Hootie and the Blowfish. Okay, so this question always makes me think a lot about where I was when this shit, was going on. So I'm 43. Hootie sort of was big in like 94. I think 94, 95 is when Crack Rear View was a real thing. I think it was the background of like shit that was going on, but I got into music early. So I was into Michael Jackson and then all the 80s shit, Madonna. Like it was an awesome time to be. Then 80s hair metal really spoke to my soul. I fucking love Poison and Motley Crue. Then I loved grunge. And I didn't know that I had to hate one thing and love the other. It just didn't occur to me at the time. I think I was a little exhausted by the time. And Hootie and the Blowfish kind of speaks to your third band, which I don't want to spoil, but it's sort of this like post-grunge. Things kind of got a little lighter. People were less, suicidal. It's like a sort of happier time. But I'll say this about Hootie and the Blowfish. I don't think people realize, and I didn't realize this too, with a black lead singer and being a Southern band, they got a lot of shit. Like they had to deal with racism because they had a black lead singer. And I know we're not post-racism or anything, but you just don't think of this band as like that would happen because it's kind of easy listening. And you think, oh, everybody likes Hootie and the Blowfish, or at least they don't hate them. But as it turns out, there's a lot of fucking hate. One other thing I learned, they signed with Atlantic. Atlantic at the time had something like 300 artists, so they were worried about being left behind. The A&R guy at Atlantic got the album, Cracked Rear View, and goes, I don't hear a single on this. Fast forward about 6 months, they had 3 songs on the top 100 at the same time. Hold My Hand, Only Want to Be With You, and Let Her Cry. So how wrong could you work for a major record company. You hear this thing and you go, there's no hits on this. I don't think you could be more wrong than that guy was.
That's why I don't believe them when they say trust the experts,
In this case, it really fucked up. And I'll tell you this, I don't know if you know this, David Letterman is almost 100% responsible for Hootie and the Blowfish's success. Did you know this?
No.
He was in a car after a show and he was being driven home one of the local stations played, I think it was Only Want to Be With You. And he goes, oh, I need these guys on the show. They came on the show, all of a sudden they explode. And he had them on a million times after that. It was a huge fan. But they were on the cusp of being dropped before Letterman said, I need them on. So it's like those small twists of fate, you know?
Huh. Good trivia.
Also, fastest selling debut album of all time. I think somebody might have beat them, but up to that point, they beat Appetite for Destruction, which is ungoddamn believable, historically speaking.
That is wild.
It is wild.
For me, I just had, being from South Florida, I just had some respect with the Dolphins making him cry, you know, that is a weekly ritual that I also get to encounter, you know.
Well, as a Dolphins fan, I don't know if you're familiar with this guy here. He played for New England for a little while. The Dolphins make me cry in a separate way because let's pretend we're still in the dynasty years. We would always lose in Florida, no matter how good we were. The 03-04 seasons when we went, and I don't know if you remember this, we won back-to-back Super Bowls. We lost in Florida both of those years. Okay. How the hell does that make any sense?
Brady's worst record is at Miami. Of any stadium in the country, his worst record is at Miami.
I know, and it doesn't matter how bad you guys were. In some years you were bad, and we collapsed. And then the miracle in Miami, do you remember that? We put Gronk in at safety. The only reason nobody really remembers that is because we went on to win the Super Bowl that year.
Yeah.
That was a terrible idea.
I took my brother-in-law, who's from the Boston area, to 2 Patriots games at Dolphin Stadium. One was Miracle in Miami, and the other was, I think it was the year before, we had Smokin' Jay Cutler, who has like 2 solid games a season at that point, and the rest is crap. And that season, I think he put up 4 touchdowns on the Patriots and just wrecked them.
It's one of those things where no matter who wears the jersey, they just kick the shit out of the Patriots. Well, now everyone kicks the shit out of the Patriots, but back in the good old days. Sorry about Tua, by the way. All right, I know we're supposed to be talking about music here. We'll bring up your second guy. No, just everyone who loves Hootie and the Blowfish obviously loves Biggie Smalls as well. I think that's a natural, combination.
All
right, talk to me how this happened.
I had a hard time picking between Biggie and Tupac, to be honest. And literally in high school, for me, I had every single album. I had the double albums, and it was just, it was amazing. That was back when rap was still really good. Now it's just bass beats and auto tune and talking about I don't know, strippers or whatever. And it's like these guys were telling a story about their lives and everything like that. And it was just good. And now just stuff like, anytime if you're in the club or something like that and like Big Papa comes on, you're listening. You know what I mean? You're going like, everyone knows every word. It's still such a hit. I don't know. I honestly, I wanted to put like, Biggie / Tupac because I could go either way, but I probably listen to this day more to Biggie Smalls than Tupac music right
Interesting. Now. I skew Tupac too, which is weird because I'm an East Coast guy. But what fascinates me about this is one that they killed each other. Like it was just so fucking weird. Can you imagine like the Beatles and Rolling Stones killing each other? Like you're 2 musical artists. I know it has to do with gangs. Don't get me wrong. I'm not blind to that, but it is conceptually bizarre, don't you think? The other thing is he was killed at 24 years old. Yeah. He sort of fundamentally changed the direction of rap. Which at 24 is fucking crazy. He only had 2 albums. The other 2 were like shit he had already recorded and they released. That is ungoddamn believable.
I didn't do anything with my life by 24. So
I haven't done anything in the last 24 years, let alone like you take the first. Like, how did he accomplish so much? And the other thing too, it gave us a lot. The diss track on Tupac's side too, Hit 'Em Up is one of the greatest diss tracks of all time.
Easily greatest of all time.
Yeah, I think that and Ether, which Nas versus Jay-Z, although Jay-Z clearly won that war. But like, I'm a big Bone Thugs and Harmony fan, and Notorious Thugs of Biggie is, I think, it's one of the greatest songs of all time.
Oh yeah, good choice.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, so another natural segue.
And then pivoting
from Biggie is obviously Matchbox 20.
So again, I couldn't go with all the classics. I go, what really stuck out with me and stuff I still listen to. And it's not going to be, I wouldn't say it's probably the most popular songs, but I probably, things like Push, songs like 3 a.m. obviously. That's a massive hit though. There's, what the heck's that one called that I'm totally blanking on it right now.
Well, he did Smooth with Santana. That was a big deal.
I'm not a fan. Not a fan of that one. Didn't dig that. I know that was a huge hit, but that wasn't my cup of tea.
Mm.
I forget what the name of the other one was off the top of my head. I'd have to Google it or something like that. But they had a way where like there was like every song had like 6 double entendres in it. Where like, is he saying this or is he saying that? I just thought there was a lot of depth to the lyrics, and everything's great to just sing along to. I mean, they're good. Good car. Those are like car road trip songs. Like every single one of those is a rock solid road trip song.
I was shocked when I looked into it how many hits they have. This is sort of like a lot of people put Incubus on this list, and I'm always shocked once I do Incubus research how many Incubus songs I know. Matchbox 20 had a lot of fucking hits.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They fall into this post-grunge thing as well. So a lot of the critics at the time, this was the same with Hootie and the Blowfish. And this is an odd thing about critics now, because nobody would say this about them now. But at the time, they said sort of like bland, boring. But here's the thing. Critics also don't like shit that's like wacky and new. They hated Pink Floyd when we first came out. So it's like, what do you want from us? We can't be bland and boring. We can't be cutting edge. You're going to hate us either way. But I don't think anybody in retrospect, like they just sound like the mid-90s, and everybody's cool with that now.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I remember I was going to a concert it was a Journey concert, but it was with the Asian guy that's the lead singer now.
Sounds exactly like Steve Perry.
He sounds like exactly like Steve Perry.
He sounds more like Steve Perry than Steve Perry, which is brilliant. Somehow I don't know how that's possible.
Seriously. But in the same kind of vein, the opening act was Foreigner, and I had never heard Foreigner at the time, and I was talking to my parents, and I was like, I don't know Foreigner, what do they sing? And my mom goes, Foreigner? Like, they sing literally everything. And you go down the rabbit hole on Foreigner, and they sing, there's like 20 top hits off of Foreigner as well. And you're like, oh, I didn't know that was a thing.
Foreigner does have a lot of hits. There's bands that have a sneaky amount of hits that you just don't know who sings what. You're like, oh, shit. I can see why Filipinos love Journey. They have a new Filipino lead singer. That documentary on the way they found him, because I think he was doing karaoke and he got discovered, or he was doing karaoke and put the shit on YouTube, and I think that's how he got discovered. But so a lot of I went to Reddit. I love going to Reddit because it's a very honest look at bands, and they sort of, everybody throws Matchbox 20 along with Hootie and the Blowfish into a category with Collective Soul, Counting Crows, Seven Mary 3, The Wallflowers, Goo Goo Dolls, Alanis Morissette. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, kind of that is that post-grunge group of bands that
everything was in the mid-90s. We didn't really have problems back then. Everything was pretty laid back.
I say it all the time. The 90s were the peak of humanity. The amount of fucking great movies, TV shows, and music that came out of the 90s is untouchable. And I don't think anybody, in about 100 years, I think the 90s will get its due. And I know that I'm skewed because, I was born in 1980. So there was 90s were like primetime years of anybody's upbringing, like teenage years. But goddamn, the 90s were good.
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's go on to your movies. Were any of these? Okay, well, the last one was made in the 90s. Number 1. Interstellar. Let's talk about Alanis Morissette real quick. The fact that her first song is about Dave Coulier is one of the weirdest things that should be studied.
I heard that. I don't believe there's no universe that Uncle Joey was that much of a romance person with Alanis Morissette that she wrote that. I mean, that's a banger. She shredded him in that song.
It's a banger, and it's like she's obviously very upset, and the age difference has to be ungoddamn believable. I don't know. Fucking Hollywood's a weird place. We didn't even touch on the Puff Daddy thing with Biggie, which is probably for the best. Okay, Interstellar. What do you got on this? This is what's his face? The director, Christopher Nolan. Both your first two movies.
I didn't realize until I sent them to you that I apparently am a Christopher Nolan fan because I have 2 Christopher Nolan movies on there. But first of all, I mean, I'm a huge like sci-fi geek. So for me, any of the stuff, the black holes and the effects of gravity on time and all the wild stuff they did in this movie, plus just the play on. Christopher Nolan does a phenomenal job with anything with like where his music, like it puts you in the room as it happens. Like it gives you an emotional feel to it. So that's
because he uses composer Hans Zimmer for all his movies. Yeah. The other thing about Interstellar, which a lot of things are shocking, but it says the film's depiction of black holes was so scientifically accurate that it led to new discoveries in astrophysics. That's a lot to put into a movie, teaching scientists something about black holes.
Oh yeah, no, it was. I just thought it was brilliant. That was a movie where there were scenes when you're watching that movie, like they were so intense, and they had the composer had the music just amp you up so high. I remember like you'd finish a scene and you'd be like, "Woo!" You'd be like sweating. You know what I mean? It was intense, but it was also like a heart story at the end. You know, with the daughter and everything like that. And you go, "Okay, all right." I did this stuff.
Matthew McConaughey is always very intense. I don't know that he gets the credit for the intensity that he brings.
Yeah,
he's always kind of the same guy, but he's always intense. The other thing that I think is interesting about Interstellar is it's indicative of the human condition. Let me explain. The whole premise of the movie is that we're all going to die, right? If I'm going to starve to death because of blah, blah, blah. That doesn't really affect us because the idea of all of us dying, we can't wrap our head around. The thing that makes us emotional are the two scenes where he's getting video messages from his kids who are getting older. The daughter refuses and the son finally gives up. So it's like, fuck, we're all dying. This guy missed out on his kid's childhood. That makes you emotional. And then at the end, the whole thing about, the daughter's old. And then she was like, he says something to the effect of, how did you know that I was going to, that it would work out or I'd be back? And she said, because my daddy promised me. And then we all fucking lose it collectively. Yeah. So again, I just think it's interesting that total mass destruction, genocide of the human species, whatever, who gives a shit? But this old lady still, with a quote about her daddy. Don't you find that conceptually bizarre?
We all have a soft spot for daughters, right?
Yeah, I think we have a soft spot for like a one-on-one connection, or certainly our parents. But I think it's interesting that we don't get weepy about mass destruction. It's
I remember reading some. It was like during an election year, and they said that's why politicians, like they've done psychological tests or whatever, and that's why politicians, they don't go like, oh, millions of people can't afford groceries. They go, let me tell you a story about Sarah Jones. And Sarah Jones is a single mom, because we can identify with the individual better than we can the statistic. Yeah. Oh, millions of people are screwed. Nah, nobody cares. But like Sarah, we don't want poor Sarah to suffer.
No, and I've often thought war would end a lot quicker if every day, instead of saying like, 300 troops were killed, we go, here's a biography on every single one. These are their parents' names. These are the siblings. These are the children left behind. This is their wife. And by the end of it, you'd be exhausted. Go, all right, fuck it. No more war. I can't take it. All right. Next Christopher Nolan movie, The Dark Knight. I think this movie is sort of universally beloved. I would say 94% critic score, 90% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. But I don't know how you wouldn't like this movie. It has to be some axe grind against superhero movies, but it's awesome, isn't it?
I think this is his whole series, Dark Knight series, was one of the most like modern, realistic interpretations of a superhero. It's not like the classic, like the OG Batman with like the Zam, Bap, boop, all the cartoon nonsense, or I think some of the stuff from like I love Michael Keaton as Batman, but I thought all the Joker and all that with the makeup, it was just over the top. Whereas this, Heath Ledger's Joker was, you didn't even realize it was Heath Ledger. You go like, this guy is an absolute psychopath, and it was brilliant. You know what I mean? It was just an incredible. I think he won an Oscar or something for it. Like after
posthumously.
But it was just, I thought it was brilliantly done. And then same thing, the music on it just keeps you in anticipation of like, what the heck are they going to do next the whole time? I don't usually do superhero movies. It's not my jam. I like them, but it's more like mindless entertainment. But in this case, I thought the acting just was incredible.
I think Batman Begins snuck up on people too, the first one in this series, because I don't think it was at a time where I think superhero movies and still it's sort of being churned out and nobody expected greatness from it. And then it was really good. But what people won't remember and what they didn't remember about the first Batman is everybody thought Michael Keaton being cast was a huge mistake. He was mostly a comedic actor. He was coming off of Mr. Mom. Now he, in a lot of people's minds, love him or hate it, he is kind of Batman.
Yeah.
Heath Ledger, nobody wanted him as the Joker, because he's coming off the gay cowboy movie. And everybody's like, we're going to have a gay cowboy's Joker. That's going to be terrible. It was a whole fucking thing. People are very upset about Heath Ledger being cast as the Joker because like, Jack Nicholson, he's not a gay cowboy. That's what the Joker should be. 100% wrong. He was. Now everyone forgets that. And it's an iconic role that I think, to some degree changed the direction of superhero movies and how you can take them seriously as, less poppy, it's darker. It's grittier.
Yeah. Well, I think they're doing that now with who is it? And that was that. What is it? Robert Pattinson. They made him Batman, which I think is an odd choice, frankly. Let's be honest. You can't have the what is it? What was it? The vampire suddenly turned.
Yeah, he was a sparkly vampire in Twilight. Now he's that's
but
almost...
those are that first one was extremely dark. I mean, with the whoever the one guy was with the I think was he the Riddler? I don't remember, but it was just they're like, how do we make this just painfully dark? I mean, now they've really gone down the rabbit hole.
It was like he's wearing S&M gear, and not only I know it's the way that you're saying it's dark, but I know this word is overused. It's literally dark. Like, turn a fucking light on. I can't see anything. Like, it's, you know what I mean? It's very dark. I thought that movie was okay. I just thought it was an hour too long. The last hour you could cut off. Here's the thing I don't understand. the bad guys always hate Gotham. Like, they're like the whole movie that with the rabbit. He's trying to flood Gotham. Like, who hates the city that much? Calm down.
Yeah, no.
That's the idea of the city.
The scene where he burns the money and it's like, no, we're just here we just want to be an agent of chaos or something like that.
Yes, that's much more, I wouldn't say relatable, but you can wrap your head around why, you're just an agent of chaos. You want to watch the world burn. This guy just wants to fuck Gotham. You know, Gotham's not a person, right? Like, why do you hate this? Are the taxes too high? I don't understand. Too many potholes? I don't understand. Okay. Let's go on to Fight Club. Oh boy, do people love this movie. Why do you love this movie?
So, I think, everyone's probably seen this movie 100 times at this point, right? I mean, it was a great movie, came out a long time ago. I think the first time you saw it, where at the very end, he finds out he is Tyler Durden. Spoiler alert, if you still haven't seen it, but I think the spoiler alert. I think
the last 30 years, if you didn't see it,
but spoiler alert, he's Tyler, and you go like, holy crap. And now it makes you go, I got to watch the whole movie again from the beginning to see like, where did that mental break happen? And like, imagine, all the scenes with, who's the gal that played Martha and with the girlfriend in this, and you go back and like, he's like occasionally reverts back to himself and has the interactions with her. And he's like, who the hell are you? And why are you in my room? And And it's like, and he just hooked up with her the night before as Tyler Durden. And you're like, what just happened? And then just the whole statement on, I don't know, corporate greed and everything like that. I think that was, the blowing up the banks, I'm not a supporter of blowing up anything, but, just the statement.
You take the strong stance against terrorism. I like that about you.
Yeah. Exactly. But at the same time, it was a solid message of how I think a lot of people felt. And I would say there's probably a tie to today where like a lot of, especially guys, we're told masculinity is toxic and all this stuff. And you go like, okay, so what are we supposed to do with it? I don't know. I guess beat the crap out of each other.
All right. I think Karina's asking if Wonder Woman is in Fight Club. She's not. She's also not in Batman. She doesn't make an appearance in that. Okay, I have a lot to say about Fight Club. My issue with Fight Club is that it came out around the same time as The Sixth Sense, and both had big reveals at the end. I just thought The Sixth Sense big reveal was done so much better because if you look back on it, Bruce Willis's character never pulls out a chair, never opens a door, doesn't communicate with anybody else. I could be wrong, but don't Tyler Durden and Edward Norton's character talk to people at the same time? I just think it broke it. It was unfair of the movie to break normal rules if you're going to play in the real world. You know what I'm saying? I just thought in as compared to The Sixth Sense, which did it masterfully, this asked you to sort of suspend disbelief in a way that hurt my head.
Well, I think the idea though was it was coming out as far as the person who was hearing him each side, Brad Pitt and Ed Norton talk, they were hearing one guy talk. And so that's why a lot of times you'd see a scene where the person would look just absolutely like lost. Like, what the hell did he just say to me? Because one guy's saying one thing and the other guy's saying the other thing. But as far as they're concerned, it's one person telling them this wild mixed message. So that makes
a little bit more sense. And the other thing about the masculinity thing is I know it's a thing. I know it's in the zeitgeist. Don't get me wrong. But my kid recently, he's at a joint birthday party between my son who turned 8, my daughter, and all the boys are out there, and it's like Lord of the Flies. They're hitting each other with shit. They're shirtless. They're dirty. Like, at what point, like, who ruins this? Like, do we go? Oh, you can't do that. I don't know. As a father of a son, I'm waiting until the point where somebody goes, you can't do that anymore, and that'll be shocked. But until that point, they still act like boys. They kill each other in Fortnite. I don't know.
what was the comedian? And he was talking about, he goes, you know, because I have two girls and a boy, and he goes, it's wild with kids. He goes, I have two boys, and then my brother has two girls, so my nieces come over, and they'll be like, Uncle, can we just go color something? And he's like, sure. And he goes, an hour will go by, and I'll go back in the room, and there they are, just coloring. He goes, with my kids, if I gave them a box of crayons, an hour later I'd come back to my kids, where are the crayons? They're on the roof. The crayons are stuffed in the mailbox for some reason. It's like, that's just the energy of boys. You know what I mean?
They're constantly breaking shit. Like the trampoline, it has like a net with the things. They've ripped apart the net. They use the foam to whack each other with. The metal's bent. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? So to me, I don't know at what point that we go, listen, you can't be masculine. It's obviously a thing. I'm just waiting for it to happen. Anyway, let's go to your books. This
gotta put it on the list.
The Holy Bible. What do you like about the Bible?
Only book I've ever read twice. There's a start.
Okay.
So look, I mean, I'm a Christian. I wear my heart on my sleeve, my faith on my sleeve. I've read it. I was forced to read it probably during Catholic school. Chose to read it again, and read a few different translations of it. And then, have you seen The Chosen on Amazon? It's like during like the life of Jesus, and they do such a good job acting it out that you're like, some of the stuff for all my my recovering Catholics out there, that you were forced down. The stories, right? The story, but to see it acted out and done in such a extremely well done way. I actually started reading in. I think it's the Message version of the Bible this time, and deliberately reading like the Gospels. And here's the wild part. You know how if you see a Morgan Freeman meme and you start mentally reading it in Morgan Freeman voice?
Yeah.
That's what happened. I watched The Chosen, and the guy who plays Jesus, I started reading the Gospels in like Jesus voice.
In Jesus voice. So in Hebrew? Is that what you're saying?
No, how the guy sounds when he acts it. He does such a good job. And I'm like, oh, it actually made more sense after seeing it acted out. You're like, oh, this is actually pretty cool.
See, okay, so when you say the Bible, you're skewing towards the New Testament?
I mean, look, I have read it cover to cover twice now, and I'm trying to do it a third time. Doing my good Christian duty here. But honestly, I find I always get something different out of it. The Old Testament's brutal. Let's be honest.
I was going to say, who reads Leviticus and goes, oh my God, this was so fucking good. We should, oh my God, we should stone people if they wear fabric woven into different materials. I love this. And you know what I mean?
Definitely harder to get through. The Old Testament's way harder to get through. It's definitely something where, New Testament's, it's, what movie was that with Matt Damon where it's like Buddy Jesus and he's like, hey.
That's Dogma. That's I love Dogma.
Everybody likes Buddy Jesus a little bit more than like let's stone people to death guy. So
Yeah, blonde-haired, blue-eyed, ripped up abs American Jesus is a hell of a. I don't know how we got there. This is the thing that I love about the idea of people want Jesus to come back. You realize he's going to be from Jerusalem. Like he's not going to be what you think. I don't know. I'm no biblical scholar, but something tells me he's not going to look like American Jesus.
No.
All right, so we got the Bible, and then a natural segue to Simon Sinek's Eater's Leap. Okay, tell me about your love for this particular book.
So Simon Sinek, his more famous book is Start With Why. That's probably the one people have heard of. I think he actually wrote this before that, and it just didn't hit the fame levels. But I read Start With Why, and I'll check out another book by him. What I really dug about this is, this is probably the one for me in business that impacted me the most. He talks about, he uses the military as an example, where in the military, the lowliest guys in the ranks eat first, and they always, the generals and everything eat last. And then he goes through this whole thing to essentially say, like, as a business or an organization, your job is to take care of your people so that, and if you can take care of, we all have crap going on in our lives. We all have drama. We all have problems. And if I, as a business owner, can minimize as much of that as possible for my team, then when they are at work, they can just focus on what they got to get done and not worry about like, oh, I got to go to the doctor after this, and can I afford the care? And, do I have enough money saved up for retirement? And if I can do that for them, then it massively increases retention, minimizes turnover, minimizes nonsense competition in the workplace, and just helps the business grow. And so I loved that book. That was definitely a gateway drug of business books for me.
I think, I haven't read this book. I did read the why one. Clearly being a good leader is good for everybody. The why thing, though, really bothers me. I think as a marketer, we need to keep coming up with new shit to sell people. And I think the why is one of those things. And this is the example I use all the time. Amazon won't let their drivers go to the bathroom. They have to piss in bottles, right? Nike uses slave labor, and we know this, and we continue to buy Nike. It's these major corporations that do awful things aren't suffering. So we never ask why. You know what the why is? Money. The why is money to everybody. Like, open your refrigerator. Tell me the why behind anything in there. I just want to fucking eat it. You know what I mean? Like, I can look around this room. I have no idea why the CEO does anything. I suspect it's because he wants money. You know what I mean? So I just don't buy into the why of anybody. I think it's much more transactional. Most relationships.
But I think Nike is a good example where they've done a good job, regardless of what they're actually doing. What have they done? They're not a sneaker brand. They're the brand of elite athleticism. You know what I mean? When you're never, no one ever got in trouble for buying, the baseball team Nike shoes. You know what I mean? You go like, oh, great, phenomenal. They're Nikes. They're going to be great. Yeah. And that's all their advertisements. It's not about like, oh, look how much faster you're able to run or higher you're able to jump in Nikes. It's no, you can be like Mike. You can. Well,
you can't really. That's the thing. They're selling an idea.
It's definitely not the shoes, like the commercial said. You know what I mean? But it makes you feel like, the vibe is I'm an elite athlete, or I'm buying the brand elite athletes buy, and I want to be elite.
They're selling an idea. They're selling an emotion. I just think
they're selling that emotion exactly. Even though we all put on our Nike shoes made by slave labor, and then we take out our iPhones and our Androids made by.
And at Apple, they have suicide nets at the factories. And I just think what we do in marketing is we try to sell this idea that the consumer really wants to be part of the conversation. They give a shit about. No, they don't. They just think if it makes you look cool, then the customer will buy it, which is fine. I'm not saying that's wrong. It's a human condition. Let's just stop pretending it's anything else. It's not your why. It's, will this get me laid? Or does this make me look cool? And if it does, that's enough. I drive a Mercedes. That was a Nazi car, but we're fine with it now. You know what I mean? We've all moved on. Okay. Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life. I love Jordan Peterson, that he's become sort of the king of the incels. Have you noticed this lately?
I don't know if I would call him king of the incels.
Every time he talks about incels, he cries. It's unbelievable. It's endlessly fascinating.
I didn't know that. I thought this book was good. I saw a few of his things on like YouTube. Talking about different, let's say, conservative philosophies, and some of his stuff he goes a little farther than I would, obviously. But the points off of the 12 Rules for Life, I thought were like rock solid things for, like, what is it? Set your house in order before you criticize the world. I love that as a thing. Like, because here's what social media has done. Everyone thinks their opinion matters, and it turns out like most people's don't.
Nobody's right, of course.
Most people, you should probably keep your opinion to yourself. And social media has made it where like, oh, I can be in this anonymous voice and tweet scream at people, and it's like, no, you should probably just like figure out why your house is a proverbial mess. Your kids are rotten, and and you're broke, and you want to criticize the world for mismanaging money, like, and you can't even manage a pocketbook, man. Like, come on.
Yeah.
One I love, and I tell my wife all the time, it says, do not bother your children while they are skateboarding. Yep. And the whole point of it is like, especially today, right, with all the helicopter parents, where, oh my God, little Timmy's going to bump his little head. And it's like, think about, I mean, you're an 80s baby. As 80s babies, I think I sat in the front seat without a seat belt on while my dad smoked a Marlboro Light. Yeah. You know what I mean? And like, we turned out just fine. And the parents these days, it's they're bubble wrapping their children, and it takes away your human desire for naturally taking risks and trying to advance yourself. And so my wife occasionally will get into the like, oh, and I'm like, no, she's skateboarding metaphorically. Right. Just let her, as long as they're not going to like fall off a cliff or, break shatter their pelvis or something like that.
Within
Like,
standard deviance, you have to let them do whatever they're going to let them, whatever they're going to do, and then learn lessons from this. The part that fascinates me about this is that there's no studies that suggest that gentle parenting and helicopter parenting makes any better children. There just can't, because we haven't been doing it for that long. We just assumed, and I'm not exactly sure why, that that's the better way to do it. You know, for 300,000 years, they went outside and played and got dirty and came home mostly alive. And then we were like, no, that is all wrong. We have to change our philosophy. We have to watch them do everything they do. And it's conceptually bizarre. Yeah. And I think we're probably the last generation that saw a different kind of parenting, because how we were raised wouldn't fly today.
No.
And I don't know how you turn that Titanic around. But like, so I printed out the 12 rules. They're fine. You can't argue with any of them. I like which ones? I like number 5. Do not let your children do anything that makes you dislike them. That's great advice, because if you don't like your kids, other people are going to fucking hate them.
Yeah.
You know, like if you raise a little asshole,
yeah,
it's going to cost you your social life, them their social lives. I fucking don't do it. Pet a cat when you encounter one on the street. I think big fan of Warren Zevon, his whole enjoy every sandwich. That sort of goes along with that. Enjoy life's little pleasures. No, so Jordan Peterson rose to fame because he made one weird internet video saying that he wasn't going to use pronouns. And I don't think, I watched this documentary. I think this guy wasn't ready for, nobody's ready for fame. I just think it was thrust upon him. He used to be more normal than he is now. I think he's had a mental breakdown, but he was right. You can't argue, I don't think. I don't know if these are the only 12 rules for life, but nothing here is wrong. Be precise in your speech. Who's going to argue with that? Who's going to go, fucking lie more? No one. Pursue what's meaningful. Set your house in order. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to someone else is today. That's good advice, right?
I mean, yeah, exactly. I mean, most of the rules here are pretty inarguable. I think he does a good job mapping them out, and detailing what they mean and how do they actually apply. Pursue what is meaningful, not what is expedient. That's a great one. I mean, I think especially in the day and age where, like, you want a package, you got 2-day shipping. You want a date, swipe right. You want to, you know what I mean? Like people are just into the quick fix. And people aren't doing something like, okay, what am I going to do, to improve my life, improve my family's life, that doesn't just give me the quick fix today. I just think that's a lot of that's lost.
The problem is that instant gratification is so gratifying. I mean, I love it.
We wouldn't do it if it wasn't gratifying.
Speaking of gratification, Gabe, this is a family show. So I know what you're doing here. I know what you're doing, and I love every minute of it. Okay, let's go to your death row meal, which I find to be delightful. Okay, this is what you started off with.
Bougie.
Okay. These are both, the first two, they look pretty bougie, but they're both from the Capitol Grill. These are actual pictures of the Capitol Grill French onion soup in the calamari. French onion soup is ungoddamn believable. I tried to make it 2 weekends ago. I did a crock pot version. Here's the problem with the crock pot. It doesn't reduce. So while everything got softer and more oniony, you really need a very intense onion flavor. So I had to put it on the stove and boil it down.
You had hot onion water, huh?
Yes, it was hot onion water. It was okay, but you need to get to you need the most oniony shit in the world to make a good French onion soup. And a great French onion soup is a great fucking soup.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing. And they take a blowtorch to it to melt the cheese. So it's got like a crispy layer. Oh, out of this world. It's
a soup that has many. Okay, so not only is the soup itself very intensely flavored and delightful, then they put bread on it, then they put cheese on it, then they put it under the broiler. So it's like it's intense all around. I got to applaud the French here, because everybody worships French cuisine. I don't think it's largely very good. They fucking crushed it right here. French onion soup is ungoddamn believable. And I looked into it, legitimately French. I think the myth is that I think Louis XV went to one of his hunting cabins. He was hungry. All he could find was onions, butter, and champagne, and came up with this shit. Obviously a myth, but let's take it at its word. It's about 600 years old, and I got to tell you, delightful.
Amazing.
What the heck? Did we? Oh no, I lost. Where'd you go? Oh my God.
I'm right here. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you see me? Whoa, I can't see you in the thing though. Are you still on the screen?
Bro, I can see you. I think the onion soup likes overloaded the system.
Oh my God, classic. Okay, so can you see is your food still on the screen?
I can see food. I can see snacks. I can see you.
Okay, well I can't see any of it, but I can see it in the lower left-hand corner. So then you're going calamari from the Capitol Grill.
I had a hard time with the meal, but I ended up clearly staying on a Capitol Grill theme. the calamari there, they put like this Thai chili on it, and they have some cherry peppers. So it's got this like real unique like sweet heat to it that I just think it's amazing. I could make that a meal if I wasn't at the freaking Capitol Grill where they have amazing steaks. That could be a meal on its own. It's so good.
I think the fried calamari, which is, I love calamari, but it has like a rubber band-esque consistency. But I think it's the finest of the fried seafoods. It doesn't hold a lot of grease. So it almost, I wouldn't call it refreshing necessarily, but it's not as heavy as like a fried clam or something. So my point about this is you can eat a lot of them, which is something I like to do, is eat a lot of good things.
I like it. I like the category you just put them in, the finest of the fried seafoods.
Yeah, because I live in New England. They fry the shit out of everything, and it's very heavy. You feel disgusting afterwards. For some reason, something about calamari, I think because they're rubber bands, they don't hold the grease.
Yeah.
Which is nice. Then you're going with this is actually, I stayed with the Capitol Grill because their Facebook page is just delightful.
I mean, aren't you hungry? I mean, it looks amazing on screen.
That looks ungoddamn believable. It's a ribeye, medium rare. Steak appear. This is the problem with cows. They're made of delicious stuff. They're fucked. We're never going to stop eating cows. I know they're destroying the environment with methane and everything else. They give us heart attacks, but when you're made of this stuff, we're never going to stop eating it.
It's people eating tasty animals. I mean, I'm a big supporter.
Yeah, I was a vegetarian for 5 years. It was the worst 5 years of my life.
5 years?
Oh, awful. Well, as a pescatarian, because fish don't have any souls. I'm not even sure a cow has a soul. I know this. Cows taste very good. Are you putting a sauce on a steak?
No. God, no. Maybe I'll do something where you do like a blue cheese butter or like a something.
That's what I'm talking about. A blue cheese butter. That's exactly right.
I thought when you say sauce, I mentally think of like A1, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to butcher a delicious steak with some horrible steak sauce like that.
I think A1 has its place with shitty steak, like if you're at like a chain restaurant.
Right.
But yes, this absolutely. There's a place near me. I always get the 60 with a dry aged bone-in ribeye, and then I get a blue cheese compound butter and a fried egg.
That sounds good. That sounds good. And the only temperature is medium rare or rare. I remember I was working with someone. I was in Austin, and we were going into Perry's Steakhouse, and that's one of those like super high-end steakhouses. And he says to me, he goes, "I need to tell you something before we sit down with this client. I order my steaks well done." And I go, "We're at Perry's, so tonight you're going to have the fish." And he looked at me like, "Are you serious?" I'm like, "I'm not paying for Perry's Steakhouse if you're going to get it well done. Like, if you want a hamburger, we'll go to McDonald's after." But
I would take it a step further. If we've outlawed Roe v. Wade and we tell people they can't have abortions, I think we should outlaw people ordering steaks well done. Let's we're telling people what to do with their bodies, what to put in, what to take out.
That feels similar.
Philosophically, that makes a lot of sense. All right, then you're going with the loaded baked potato.
That's just a classic. I mean, what's not to love? Bacon, cheese, sour cream. I don't know. Butter. I do all of it. I want all the toppings, though. I mean, if you don't have 3 types of dairy on your potato, what are you doing?
Why even be alive? This is, I say this on the show all the time. We are in the golden age of food. 100 years ago, nobody could conceptualize a loaded baked potato. This is the other thing that's great about American cuisine. It has no credibility. And that sounds like it's an insult. It's not. It means that you can do whatever the fuck to whatever the fuck. The Irish had the potatoes probably for what? Like, I don't know, 50,000 years before us. It never occurred to them to put bacon and cheese and sour cream and scallions. No, because we're mental. We'll do whatever the fuck to anything, And the loaded baked potato, I think, is a perfect example of just let it go, man. Whatever you want to do to it. It's like a Bloody Mary. Bloody Marys come with pizza now and cheeseburgers and bacon.
I dig those. those Bloody Marys where it's like, I want my Bloody Mary to be a meal. I went to this place. I was in DC, and it was like pickle. It was like pickle, and that's sort of pickle, olive, a chicken tender, I think it had like a crab claw over top of it. It was, and then they're like, "Sure, would you like something to eat?" I'm like, "I am stuffed. Like, I don't need." It was legitimately like 1.5 feet tall. Oh yeah, I'm very pro like the Guy Fieri method of cooking. Like, add more fried crap and bacon and cheese to it, and it's amazing.
This is my point about the French. Like everybody worships French cuisine at like this level that like there's not a lot of French restaurants around, but if you go, who makes the best food? I guess the French do. The French stopped at some point evolving. Like look at champagne. They're like, all right, we've done enough with this. Whereas we go, I'm going to invent the Bloody Mary. You know what you can have in it? Anything. Doesn't fucking matter. You want a steak in your Bloody Mary? That's reasonable. Yeah. If you got a loaded baked potato, right? And on top of all of this, they also did tater tots, French fries, and chili. You'd be like, yeah, this makes sense. This is what belongs on a loaded baked potato because anything goes. It's a sandbox, and that's what I like about it. Okay, let's go to your. You're not done yet. There's more to your meal. I'm gonna pull it up though. Look at the production value on this show is very high. Okay, then oh my god, I forgot that you also segue right into another thing, just American lunacy, which is lobster macaroni and cheese.
You can make anything in mac and cheese. It's all my meals are just like that. Whatever you want to put in it, go for it.
Yeah, it's the Bloody Mary of meals because macaroni and cheese is indulgent to begin with.
You could put bacon, broccoli, and lobster in it, and you go like, that's mac and cheese. Perfect, done.
And lobster is so goddamn delightful by itself. And this is another thing that I think the French would disagree with. I think their whole thing, and the Italians too, they go, no fish and cheese. Those two shall never meet. Obviously, they've never had macaroni and cheese and lobster in it because it's fucking delightful. Very indulgent, your meal, because then you move on.
Well, if I'm gonna die, I mean, I gotta eat what I really want.
Who gives a shit about heart health at this point?
Yeah.
You're going with the Belvedere martini, and this is what I love about this. Blue cheese olives. I'm going through a blue cheese phase in my life right now. I'm putting blue cheese on goddamn everything. I can't get enough of it. It's not that I didn't like blue cheese before. I'm just really dialed into blue cheese right now. So if I can drink it as well, let's go.
If you haven't had one, you got to try it. I mean, so I mean, it's extremely bougie, but I will say, during COVID, you didn't have, there wasn't a lot to do. So I remember my mom or my stepdad, he goes, oh, Belvedere is the best vodka. And I was always like a Tito's guy or whatever, whatever. I wasn't that particular about it. And then of course you're like, well, I got nowhere to be and nothing to do. So I started doing like vodka taste tests on my own and stuff like that. And to me, Belvedere vodka, shake it like you hate it is how he says. You got to shake it like you hate it. Is to me on just by itself is the best tasting one. And then you couple that with olives and blue cheese. I mean, it's almost like the same theme as the Bloody Mary. It's like a mini meal with a drink. It's like your appetizer.
Yeah. I agree with the shaking. When I used to get, when I'd go out to a restaurant, I used to tell them to shake it like you have whatever Michael J. Fox has. But I like that. I like that if you shake the shit out of it, it gets a little cloudy and you get that thin layer of ice on top.
Yeah.
Which is probably insulting to bartenders somewhere because it's not how you should drink it, but it's the best way. The thing with the olives too is we used to put pimentos in them. That used to be a thing. Not very good. Then we started putting garlic and blue cheese. Yeah. We did it again. We did it again collectively as a country. I'm not sure we invented it, but I'm going to take credit for it. This is the royal we right now. But yeah, you wherever you can stuff blue cheese, you should stuff blue cheese.
You hear that?
Yeah, whoever's listening. Oh, look at this.
That's a de-stressor. That's like you've had a hell of a day, at working, and you finally get home, and you're like, your wife's going, hey, let's go out to eat. And you're like, it's been just a hell of a day. I need something that's just going to immediately wind me down in 4 sips, and that's the drink.
Yeah. Well, good way to end your day. Good way to start your morning. It's
rock solid Tuesday morning.
Exactly. All right, then for dessert, you're going with we did it again, a brownie sundae. A normal sundae was great, and then at some point in American history, they go, you know what, we should add a brownie. And you know what? They were right because the brownie sundae is my sundae of choice.
I think there's a lot happening there. I could do a brownie. I could do a blondie where they do it with like the vanilla, whatever. I don't know. I dig the combination, particularly with the peanuts. You have the peanuts in the picture. Yeah. Like the hot fudge and nuts, I feel like tastes like childhood, like ice cream, hot fudge and nuts, something like that. I don't know, that combination I could do every time. I'm sure I've had better desserts that, I just can't think of off the top of my head. But if I was just going to, close my eyes and I could pick that every single time. It's classic. It's delightful. And it's one of those ones where you take a bite and you're just like, you like rest on the bite for a minute.
I'm exhausted by living in a country where people seem to eschew the idea of nuts and raisins and things. I'm not a huge raisins guy independently, but like a carrot cake without raisins, shut the fuck up. Put the raisins. A sundae without nuts. Like so many people get, where's the crunch? Where's the textural contrast if you're not getting the nuts?
You need a crunch. You absolutely need a crunch.
Yep. Ice cream is another thing we perfected because of the lack of credibility. We've put Snickers in it. We've put M&Ms, whatever the fuck you got. Heath bars. You know what I mean? Like we will go, I think classically the French would say, oh, vanilla. No. Put Reese's peanut butter cups in there. It's going to be way better.
Yeah.
You know?
Nice.
I'm telling you, American cuisine does not get its due internationally. All right. The final question, the 5 questions of doom is, what is your favorite quote? This is from our boy, Tony Robbins. What you are afraid to do is a clear indicator of the next thing you need to do. How does this speak to you?
So, I think I first time I read that was just at a time in my life that I needed to hear it. And for some reason now, a lot of stuff, I'm a CEO of a company, and sometimes you get presented with stuff that's either scary or challenging, or we all have that thing where it's like you get invited to do something, in a business sense, not something bad or anything like that. And it gives you that pit in your stomach and you're like, ooh, God, like I don't want to do that. And for me, I use that anytime I get that pit in my stomach of like, oh, that's scary. Don't do that. That's where I'm like, oh crap. That's what I'm going to commit. I'm doing it, whatever it is, because I feel like people put like these fake boundaries on themselves of like, well, I'm afraid to do that. I won't go there. I won't go there. And I also feel like if you do this every single time when you're afraid to do something, you go, I'm going to do it. Yeah. It expands your boundaries. It pushes you out. It pushes out your comfort zone to where you go like, okay, I'm not afraid to keep moving and changing and evolving. So I dig this quote. I feel like I try to live my life by it.
Yeah, I think it plays into the idea that like all success is on the other sides of fear or something. And I think that's mostly true. I think the problem is, for 300,000 years, fear meant you were probably going to die. Now we have this weird fear thing about everything because our bodies want to keep us alive. So, but a lot of the stuff we're afraid of, there's no physical danger. It's, we just need to get out of our comfort zone, I think is the key.
Well, and you've heard the thing that people, I think the number one fear of Americans in a business world was like public speaking. And then the number 2 fear was dying. So,
right. So Jerry Seinfeld was like, you'd rather be in the casket than giving the eulogy, which is so fucking true. I know.
It's like, really?
It's a great thing. Can I just say, I don't want to go back to the meal for a second. I will say the only thing about salad, a roasted beet salad. I'm not eating it for the health. I just love roasted beets. So I'm not saying it's making my death row meal, but it's the only salad I think that somebody could make an argument with. I mean, beets are goddamn delightful. I'm glad Gabe, the commentator, has a fan on the show. I will say this about Tony Robbins. I went, I forget, I was at some trade show once at a major convention hall in Orlando. He was there doing a motivational speech, whatever the fuck he does, speech. I was there. I think we were selling, boating supplies or some shit. There was a cheerleading competition and something like a Comic-Con. And it was the weirdest group of people I've ever seen in my life. That's all I got. That's my one Tony Robbins thing. He has gigantic teeth. Big toothed man.
What was that movie with the Shallow Hal? Where he's like he has paws for hands. How did he crush your head? Yeah, did you see Not Your Guru on Netflix? He's like kind of a odd guy for sure, but clearly, he knows how to motivate people. So whatever.
He knows how to make money. He's got a goddamn ton of it, doesn't he?
Seriously.
I need to be more motivational. Maybe someday this show will take off and me and Tony Robbins will share the same stage. What do you think his his death row meal is? His 3 favorite books? I'm going to email him later today. We'll see if we'll come on.
There you go. Shout out Tony Robbins. Please do America's Sweetheart.
Eric Ryan, get to know the CEO. He needs the publicity. He needs to come on my show if he wants to get his message out. I think that's pretty obvious. Well, thank you for being on. I think, we almost killed the entire hour. Do you want to talk about the business for a couple minutes? Tell people where to go if they want to get some office cleaning?
Sure. So I guess we can talk business for a second. So the business is Anago Cleaning Systems. We do any type of commercial cleaning, literally. So as long as you're not a house, if you're a business, if you're a school, a hospital, a doctor's office, whatever it may be, we clean it. We're also a franchise model, so it's actually a 3-tier franchise model. So we have 2 franchise opportunities. One is the cleaning franchise. You can get into very low cost, like $1,000 down franchise opportunity, which is, there's no such thing as franchises that cheap other than us. Allows you to get into business for yourself. It's the ultimate side hustle. And then the master franchise is, this is like the white collar and the blue collar industry. So you're able to, former CEOs and VPs that are looking to make money for themselves instead of putting it in the pocket of the bosses that they work for. You can repurpose. It's just sales and marketing franchise. It just happens to be in the cleaning business. All of that is anagocleaning.com, ANAGO cleaning.com.
Beautiful. That was good. I feel like you've maybe done that a couple times, have you?
Once or twice.
Nice. Well, listen, thanks for coming on. Do me a favor. Can you stick around in the green room? I'm just going to log off of the live so people can get about their day. Thanks for everybody who watched and all the commentators. You were delightful as always, petting cats. Ooh, cheeky. All right. I'll see you Monday. Goodbye.